And they took the Jews and they dispersed them throughout all of the known world. And they took the Jewish people and the Jewish religion and the Jewish faith and spread it out in the middle of all of these people. And the amazing thing about that is, like we said, the Israelites at that time in the world and history, when you study world religion, they were the only people in the entire world that worshiped one God. Everyone else had multiple gods. Everybody else had a god of the sun and a god of the moon and a god of the sea and a god of the sky and a god of love and a god of this and a god of that and gods for everything. In Israel, in the middle of all of this, said, we have one God. In fact, when I was in Israel at the beginning of October, every morning as we got on the bus to go to whatever the next thing is, we would say what's called the Shema. And the Shema is a prayer that you find in Deuteronomy for the Jews, that they pray every morning and every evening. And it starts out like this. It says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one God." So God took them from living separately and being distinct and being their own people, and he spread them out among the nations with that prayer, with that message to say, our God is just one God. The Lord our God, Yahweh our God, is one God. And it was such a mind shift for those people at that time, because what they had found out in the history of the world, what you see at this time during the last 600, 700, 800 years before Jesus was born, is there's a movement away from these multiple gods. In culture, in history, these other nations, these other countries, these other people groups. The lights are kind of flickering this morning. Sorry, guys. Don't be distracted. It'll be all right. I know it's hard not to be distracted by light when you have a bald head up here that's shining so bright for everybody. It'll be all right. What had happened, though, is that all of these people begin to realize, look, these gods aren't doing anything for us. All of these other gods, they sound great and there's great stories, but they're not changing my life. They're not doing anything to better my situation. I'm still living the same way. There's no power in these other gods. And in the middle of that culture change, God sends the Israelites out with the declaration, the Lord our God is one God. And he is different than all of your other gods. And so he sends them out among the people. And then you have the history of the prophets all throughout. If you read starting in Isaiah all the way through Malachi, you have these prophets that God would send out. And the interesting thing is, when you read it, God didn't just send the prophets to Israel.